Are you in? Because I just saw something recently, but are you and DL cool? Because he's on. Tony Rock was on Bill Bellamy show talking about you. You know, you heard the shit. You know.
No, I haven't heard it.
Oh God damn.
I don't.
Okay. All right. Well, let me say.
Pierres Panic Room. I don't keep up with this. So,
all right.
so.
All right. Well, then I'm gonna tell you.
Right,
Bill Bellamy has a podcast, and Tony
Yeah.
Rock was on it, and he basically said, "I never seen DL ever angry, except the time he worked with Teddy Carpenter, and Teddy Carpenter went in front of him and did too much time, where he had to cuss Teddy Carpenter out after the show."
First of all, you know, I don't even.
Okay, I heard that. No, but this is a while back.
You're telling me something new.
Okay. Well,
So
it never happened.
hearing that, hell no.
Okay.
What DL say? Hey,
wasn't
DL
there.
would have said. Listen, man. Let me say this,
You
man.
see how you get put on you, man? Do you understand it? Do you understand how much you get heaved up on your?
Nah, cause I'm a grown man, so I
you
don't
understand why
sit there.
people-
Nah.
Okay, well,
You
then
know, I don't really lose no sleep over that.
I ain't saying
I
that.
mean, when you say, do I see get put on? Yeah, but I feel like this is how I feel. First of all, back then, here's the deal. Two things, and I want to address that. That never happened.
Okay.
DL ain't never cussed me out. DL was actually one of my best friends.
Sure.
In the business, DL was one of my best friends. Me and DL had a different falling out.
Oh wow.
It's a different fall, and that's why I'm saying the stories that you're coming up with, and you ask what you want to ask.
I'm just saying what people say around, so I want to
No, I got you, but
here's
here's where the problem comes in. It's always close to the story.
Right.
It ain't the actual story. So I feel like on one prime example, Joe Torre did a show with us one time. I did a show where I had Joe Torre and Bernie Mac and all of these guys in DC at Howard Theater.
Okay.
And for some reason, Joe Torre's hat got lost.
Hell no.
You remember he used to wear the cowboy hats?
hell
You remember
yeah.
that?
You
But
know
guess
he's
what
no
the
cowboy.
story was? Damn near up
You
until
stole
last
it,
year.
man. Why you still
I
there?
stole this
Trying to throw
nigga's.
his shit off.
Why the would I want to wear a cowboy hat at
DC, right,
in DC?
Come on,
Not just in DC,
Right,
at any
anytime.
time. You know what I'm saying? But that was the
I
story.
think I heard that too. You were trying to shake
That
him.
was
I think I
the
slightly
the
heard
story. He was mad. You know, he a little cock
Right,
diesel
sure,
nigga at the
yeah,
time.
right.
I said, I'm gonna have to fight this little nigga. I have to fight this little nigga. And you know, we had a love-hate relationship, but I never stole that man's hat.
All right. Well, here's something else. This is a good.
But
this is
let
good.
me answer the DL because
okay.
it's a good story behind. It's a story, and I know you want to ask some questions, but I'm gonna tell you some stuff that you don't know. Me and DL, you know, it's funny because we never really had a falling out. We just listen. My story is simple. I'm coming through. I'm doing comedy. I'm at the top of the game. I had a late night talk show called In the Dark with Teddy Carpenter. Yeah, but this is the background story. I had a late night. They called me. I had to go up and do a show. It was 6 comics, and you had to prove that you could do late night. So you had to do a monologue and you had to do the interview. And I already knew in my mind, because this was preconceived. I already knew years ago I was going to do a late night talk show. I knew it.
Right.
So when this came about, they had these producers. They had producers for everybody. I was the only person that didn't have a producer. So I was the only person that didn't have a producer. The Average White Band was my house band. I already had it in my head how my show was going to go. Madeline Woods was my guest host.
Wow. Okay.
I called her out of the blue, and people don't know Madeline Woods. She was one of the baddest, fine as I don't know what. They gave her a wardrobe. Paul Mooney was one of the writers. D. Militant was one of the writers.
Okay.
Buddy Lewis was one of the writers.
Okay.
I already had it in my head how I was going to go. So Paramount was the studio.
Right.
What ended up happening was they gave us a show. I had to compete against 6 other comics that they handpicked. At the end of everybody doing what they did, I was the person. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to take it unless you let me do another show to prove I am that dude.
But they said you had to do it already.
Don't matter.
See, that's the
Don't matter.
That's the right
Don't
there.
matter. I want to show, because you got to understand, the way Hollywood works is they can give you a show, but then they, in the process, and this has happened to me before, you get picked for something and they say, hey, we want to hold you. You get a holding deal for whatever, but they end up picking her. So I wanted to make sure I cemented myself. We did another show, and the show was better than the first one. And I tell you who was actually on the show.
Male, female?
Man. It'll come to me. So, but in the process of doing the show, DL was one of my best friends, period. And I said, DL, in my mind, I got a rotating person that I'm gonna have rotating, and I don't want a producer to find comics. I wanted to do everything different than they normally did at a late night show. So what they would do is they would send producers out and sit in the audience, some white dudes sit in the audience and judge us, which they didn't know anything about us. I wanted to actually send a legitimate stand-up comic to say, hey, if you come across whatever off of your word, I'm gonna put them on the show. And it was a person that was constantly rotating, who would come in and do what they do. We talk, blah, 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 and we'll introduce him together and he would do it. That was the concept. So DL was my person. I brought DL in and I said, yo, you my man. If this thing takes off, I got you. And this is on my children. I got you, right? So the show ended up holding deals, blah, blah, blah. We couldn't get on TV because of the Seinfeld reruns. When you do a late night talk show, you have to be in 5 cities, okay? In one city, they had Seinfeld at 11:30, and Seinfeld reruns was making a ton of money.
Sure.
So we couldn't get on the air.
Right, sure.
So they held us. New management came in, and you know how Hollywood is. If new people come in, everything they had is killed. They want everything, and that's what ended up happening to my show. I did get a chance to, a couple of other late night shows. Had to go up against Chris Spencer, whatever the case may be. And in fact, what came back to me was Chris was a little bit more easier with white people in Nebraska.
Damn.
Because no matter how black you are, you still have to appeal. They say Hollywood, you have to appeal to people in Nebraska. Never really got that, but it is what it is. DL was always my man. Fast forward, this situation happened with Chris Rock. I got blackballed from the agencies. Agencies, and people say, how do you get blackballed from agencies? Agencies, what they are able to do is if they want to keep you off, in other words, they put packages together.
Sure.
I was being asked for from a lot of promoters. Hey, we want Ted Carpenter. They would do one or two things. Oh, he's working. Well, that promoter don't know that.
Right.
So they'll just go off and say, well, who else you got? That's number one. And then number two, if it was a show and they say, I want him, and Ted Carpenter, that agent was saying, no, if you get him, he won't work. We won't put none of my. Well, guess what? Because that Chris Rock situation was, so when you say, how did I lose that money? That's how I lost that money. I found out one of our agents that we were both signed with, DL and I found, he was taking some money. So I'm being me. Right. In fact, me and some brothers, some Muslim brothers, I had them go see them. When I was a little later on, but I found out they was taking some money. Blah blah blah. He felt embarrassed. He X'd me from their agency.
DL felt embarrassed?
No.
Oh, the
agent. The agent.
Okay.
So in the process, I stopped getting all these big shows. Sure. DL was slowly becoming the man. In fact, it was right before the DL Hughley show. Okay. So the DL Hughley show, guess who actually got all the way to the end
as a friend of his.
As the friend.
Remember? John Hinton? Was it?
It was me.
Oh.
I got all the way to the end. And guess who walks through the door? Guess who was the
agent?
Guess who was the executive producer of the show?
Oh, the agent?
Chris Rock.
Oh, hell no. See? You see how that is?
Motherfucker.
That shit happens sometimes.
Walking in the hallway. He didn't say nothing. He spoke. And I was like, motherfucker.
Yeah. So you said you and DL aren't as close anymore.
So the DL thing happened. I didn't get the part. John Hennon ended up. The story is John Hennon ended up getting it, and whatnot. I started losing business. Couldn't quite figure out why I was losing the business. This, that, and a whole bunch of other things happened. But what ended up happening, DL was always my man, and he's my man too. DL's like a brother to me, and he gonna see it. But I'm just gonna keep this shit 100.
Keep it $1.
Turn me up a little bit.
if you like that clip, hit the subscribe button or the notification bell. In fact, why don't you hit both of them?